Orange is I feel burnt out, and gray I do not have sufficient time to complete all duties required of me. So last year, staff were stressed out, right? And it was difficult, and we were trying to do things that were unprecedented and we've never had to do before. So we were trying to figure out how do we support all students, and they were feeling pretty stressed out. It's declining a little bit. It would be interesting to see what this looks like now that we're back in school again, and we're continuing to see some of the same struggles, even though I think many of us were hopeful, like in July, that things were getting back to normal, but not yet. And then these are some of the diminished concerns, or the differences in terms of the concerns that they had is they weren't as concerned about access to technology, academic growth, peer relationships, social emotional well-being, relationships with adults. Very concerned about behavior. So these were their perceptions at the end of last school year. It would be interesting to hear how they are right now. So anyway, questions about this? I'm all done.
This is Lacey Keel. Yeah. That was amazing data. That was compiled very well. A lot of work went into that.
I did not do it. It was student accountability.
Well, that is amazing.
It was our accountability department, but they are amazing, and they provide us some really great data, and it really helps us in understanding how to support students. No questions about any of the data? Okay, I will move on. All right, we're on to 2.06, presentation and update on the district's current media attendance campaign and messaging efforts. If you recall last time, we talked about what are some of the actions that we can take as a committee to maybe impact absenteeism. We knew absenteeism was tough. I think when we met back then, it was at 37%. So it increased to 39% when the school year ended. And so we have done a lot of work the last several months to kind of follow through with some of your recommendations. And one of those things that happened was all of attendance was moved under my department. So that's even attendance record keeping and attendance policies. We got a new staff person, Doug Taylor, and I want to introduce him. He's our new attendance coordinator. So some of you may be familiar with Dr. Brenda LaPinta, who did all of the attendance policies. She no longer does attendance policies. She does everything else, just not the attendance policies. So Doug Taylor got hired as the attendance coordinator. So we're happy to have him on board, and he's going to give you guys an update on some of the things that we've been doing. A lot of the work Doug's been working on doing attendance campaigns and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to let him update you, and then we also have a draft, and I just want to emphasize this is a draft of a PSA that Doug has been working on with Sparks High School that we're hoping will be distributed to put out the message that every day counts.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to meet you. Happy to be here today. So in my role as attendance coordinator, one of the things that I wanted to take on right away was this attendance campaign that's going to run all year long. We're kicking off here in the next week to 10 days with a number of messaging efforts. We've got some community partners, we've got some school district partners that are going to be helping us to get our message out there, making every day count, or every day counts for kids. And one of the things that I really felt was important was that a large part of this message come from students and feature student voice. Part of my background is in 21st century learning, and I always have felt like that's one of the ways that you really get your message to speak the loudest is when students are speaking to other students. So as a part of that, we've done some filming at Sparks High School, and we're scheduled to do some filming at some of the middle schools here next week to include in this video. That currently you're just going to see Sparks High students in the draft. But we asked them a number of questions about what's bringing them to school, what kinds of struggles did they experience in the past, excuse me, and how did they get past those struggles. So this is the video that we've shot at this point. As Rochelle mentioned, it is a draft right now, and it is going to include some middle school students in the future, but this is what we've got right now.
I just want to make sure, Charles, can you see it okay? Okay.
I have actually struggled with attendance. I've gone missing a lot of days of school. I'm actually here and participating. I'm in leadership now. I'm enjoying every last second of it.
I feel like making friends with the right people and also talking to people about education will also help you come to school more.
I really struggled with attendance because I just wanted to have fun, of course. I'm taking RJRTC and leadership. It really motivates me and gives me authority, really.
I took really good classes this year that I really, really wanted, and they make me really happy, and that's why I'm here every day. My grades are important to me.
My inspiration for making school more important for me was my mom, because although she didn't get a lot of help that I do now, she wants me to pursue more and become more than what she ever got growing up.
I was always late to class. I never really cared about going to class, so I've just come late. I overcame that because by actually getting more motivated to do my schoolwork.
I know some of us do not want to go to school. I get that, but what advice I have: participate, be involved, do things you love, join a sport.
Even though you might not think that classes have a purpose, it'll always come back to you regardless if it's later on in life, a career you choose, or an opportunity you're given. You'll always need something from school, and that's why it's important to stay in school.
Major tip: take the classes that you really love.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. I asked for so much help last year, and my teachers were so happy about it.
I think it's important for students to come to school every day because when you come to school, you're more motivated to do your schoolwork. It's just really important to come to school because it helps you and everybody else.
So the messaging on that last slide will become our Everyday Counts slogan that we're going to use for the campaign. Some of those are placeholders right now, but we were really proud of the answers that the Sparks High kids gave, and you could really feel when we were shooting that video how excited they really are to be back in school and learning in person and doing those things like they talked about, joining teams and getting involved. It's so meaningful to the kids. So we're very hopeful that the PSA will have a positive impact on student attendance.
So I did want to say also, sorry about that, Charles, hopefully you can see okay. United Way is also supporting and doing some work with their grade level rating campaign. They are doing a news conference next Friday at their office regarding attendance. So they're going to be giving out some information. They will do work with us, however, we've got some of our own attendance campaign. We wanted to make sure that we emphasize that we don't expect perfect attendance. We still have kids that are being excluded who are exposed or positive for COVID. But every day does count. So I think that that's going to be our ultimate decision on we're deciding on that slogan is every day counts. So excited for that to come out. And if you all have thoughts and ideas of how to distribute this, I'm gonna go to the next agenda item also because we have something else that we can give out to families that we're gonna talk about. But if you had any thoughts about how this could be distributed, we will release it to our media partners as well. And we'll distribute it on our social media through the school district. Any thoughts, feedback on this? It's a draft, so we're open to suggestions on what it should look like.
Roger Boughton for the record. I found it enjoyable. I liked it. I think it's going to be the opportunity to be effective. I like the idea if we get some other schools involved in that. Kids like to see people they know and all that. But I think hearing the student voices from the student perspective about coming back and why it's needed.
Carrie Pruitt for the record. I thought it was great, and I like the inclusion of kids that weren't doing that well. I think it might be interesting to include a few more of those, that kids that really struggled and that are just turning the corner, because I think, to your point, Roger, having the student voice is so important, and then the kids that do hear that, and maybe the parents too, might resonate a little more with those kids that have really had, a difficult time and are starting to progress a little bit. So But I think it's wonderful. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Lance, for the record, the only thing I would add, I like it too, I think it's great with kids, is maybe some more specifics on who helped them at the school, so they can kind of identify somebody in their school that potentially is in that same role. You know, you said teachers, of course, right? My counselor helped me, my dean helped me, just kind of things to people that a little bit more opportunities for them to think, oh, okay, I could go see them, or you know, my coach or whoever that might be, just identifiers, just to maybe a little bit more broad. It's not just your counselor that helps people, it's not just your English teacher or that kind of thing.
What might be interesting, just a thought, is to maybe if we could also look at doing some recent graduates that started like in college or something, and then, because everyone kind of looks up to the next level, like middle school, look up to high school, look up to college, is saying how much that meant to be involved in those things and how it helped them in college, or what they're doing right now might be helpful too in a different video, I think. Just show them why, you know, afterwards.
This is all great feedback, especially Lance. I think we've heard from a couple people saying we need to identify who do they go to when they do need help. Because we tell them to go get help, but they don't always know how to do that. So that's a really good idea like that. Any other thoughts?
Just wanted, Lance, for the record, and also where the families can go, right? Or a quick little snapshot of who they can call, especially if they need translation services too in those schools.
Great. Okay. Anything else? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the feedback. We appreciate that. We'll keep working on it. Doug is due to work with middle school students too, so we'll get some middle school perspective, because those little middle school kiddos, they have a whole different perspective on things. I have so much respect for staff that work with middle school students, because my child is a middle school student right now, and she's such a joy all the time. Okay. I also just wanted to add too that our communications department is drafting attendance messages too. September is National Attendance Awareness Month. Nationally, if you didn't know, now you know. September is generally, back when we were all in school, because we're all about the same age, that September was when we started school, right? So September is National Attendance Awareness Month. We're going to keep, though, pushing that message around attendance and who do you go to when you need help, and trying your best, even when sometimes you get excluded, to engage as much as you can through the whole year. So attendance messages will start going out after we're done drafting them, and they're just strategies for families of how they can support attendance, and they'll go out through text messages. They may go out through our Blackboard system, which are phone calls or emails. It just kind of depends on what we ultimately land on in terms of what those messages will look like. They will be translated, so they could potentially go out in different languages as well. So that's something else that we're working on. And then we've got a couple other things that we're trying to plan, and we'll update you guys in December once we figure out the details of those. So lots of things going on around attendance and attendance campaigns. Any other thoughts or ideas around messaging the importance of attendance from our partners?
This is Carrie Pruitt for the record. I'm wondering, I know that your media folks are pushing it out, and I'm wondering if those PSAs can be linked to some of our other websites, if that's possible, because I think it would be great to have it on our agency website.
Yeah, I think we would love that. So any ideas that you all have in terms of if you have social media platforms or if you have websites that we could link that video to, if we could get it out anyway to families, we just want to continue to make that spread, that information is to as many people as possible.
Okay, then I'll check with our media person and see, because we have a Facebook page too, and we can probably link to.
Great, thank you, Carrie.
Lance, for the record, also, the attendance has switched in in the last 2.5 years, just a reminder of what it is and how they're being held accountable and how they can, and updates of being excluded, just because it's constantly changing. I know everything's changed. It's so hard to keep up with the latest thing they're supposed to follow. So just the latest update regarding attendance and those protocols, just make sure that they're attached or some link to it.
Okay. Yep, good idea. They are changing. I think our superintendent put out new guidance to families yesterday. So, all right, that is a good segue if we're done with this to move on to 2.07. We've always had information for school administrators, for teachers, for parents around their responsibilities for attendance, but as you all indicated, attendance has changed significantly, and there's a lot of questions around when does your child get exposed, when do they stay home, what does count, what doesn't count, in terms of like attendance codes and attendance record keeping, and it can look different at every school. So we had this information, Doug took it and refined it, and then we asked our family school partnerships to take the information that Doug refined and put it in a parent-friendly format. And I will send this to you, Charles, as soon as we're done, because I don't know that I can show it to you right now, but I'll send it. And if you have any feedback, would love to hear from you. Or if you want to utilize it and distribute it to families, please feel free to, because we do have it on our district website. And if you wanted to pull it up now, Charles, you could get on the washoeschools.net website and click on departments and intervention and attendance, and you can find it on there if you were dying to see it right now. So I'm going to have Doug explain to you what it looks like, but Delisa's department did an amazing job of translating it into Spanish for us, but making it just easy to read and make more sense and for it to be concise. So would love to hear your feedback on this. I'll let Doug fill in a little bit more if he has any other thoughts about this. It is on our district website now, and we've distributed or have begun to distribute it to schools. But I'll let him kind of fill in the blanks too, and then if you all have feedback, would love to hear that too.
Yeah, so when I took over this position, Rochelle and I looked at the existing document for families, and there was one in the past, but it was long. It was in fairly formal language. It was difficult to follow. So one of the things that we decided to do right away was to rewrite that and make sure that it included all the content that families needed to know, but to put it into a much more easy to understand and friendlier kind of format. So this is the result of that. We took all the content from that, and as Rochelle mentioned, working with Family School Partnerships and Lisa Crane, she helped us to put it in the format, and I think we have all the info in here that is critical for parents to know. Some of the things, I won't read the whole thing to you, but some of the highlights, absences that are excused by a medical professional, a mental health professional, or a behavioral health professional, per SB 249 from the last legislative session, are now excluded from consideration for chronic absenteeism. They don't count against the student when we calculate chronic absenteeism, and they do not count against the school when they calculate the school's performance rating. So that's a big change. And when parents look in Infinite Campus, they see those coded as gray absences, and they say that they are excluded from consideration. And so we were fielding questions about that, and we were hopeful that having this on there would help parents to understand that. The other thing that's on here that we fielded questions about that we are hopeful will help parents with is the COVID exclusions. And COVID exclusions also do not count towards chronic absenteeism. So when a student is excluded either due to a positive case of COVID or due to close contact with someone that did have a positive case of COVID, those are coded in such a way that those don't count towards the student's chronic absenteeism either. So those are two of the kind of the biggest changes for this year. But everything else that we felt like we wanted parents to have access to is here, including the QR code that will take them to the Infinite Campus app download if they are using a smartphone, or the website if they're using a laptop or something. So we're hopeful that this will help our families to better connect with the requirements for attendance and better be able to support their needs in terms of understanding what those are. So that's the guide that we have as of now.
Just one clarification, and I like it. I like how it's broken up. It's easy to follow. So when you're looking at the makeup work section, correct? Teachers must provide students makeup work or concepts missed by the students within 2 days of the students returning to class, and then it talks about how much time you have to return that. So say the person only misses 1 day, and the teacher, they come back, the teacher doesn't give it to them until the second day, and now you're already past, it's due that day. So I don't know if just a specific reflect on the day of receiving the makeup work from the teacher, you have that 1+ day. Just a little quick, because I know that's been an issue for my son right now in the district, that we've had to, and teachers are having to do, really readjust based on, numerous factors, and many people are missing school, so it's really tough sometimes to coordinate, making sure they're abiding by the 2 days on their end.
Thank you for the feedback, and you're absolutely right. So the students do have the number of days +1 from the day they get the work, not from the day they return. So I will make sure we include that. Thank you.
Any other? Okay, put on my microphone. Any other feedback, questions, clarification?
This is Carrie Pruitt. This is great. I'm going to today download it from the website, and I think sending it out to our workers and our foster parents and stuff will be extremely helpful, because the format is visually easier to digest. So thank you so much for this.
Any other thoughts? So we've been working hard to try to follow through with some of the recommendations that this committee has had. So we'll keep updating you on all of this and continue to try to make it easier to understand attendance, because it can be quite confusing, I know. All right, there are no other comments. Moving on to 3.01, public comments. I see no public comment. Did we receive any, Dodie?
No.
Okay, moving on to 3.02, again, announcement of next meeting is December 10th, 2021. We can do a hybrid, just let us know ahead of time, and it will be through Teams format, but we will be in person. And 3.03 is adjourned meeting. Thanks everybody for being here, appreciate it.